That's me. Hi there, guys. Welcome back for some more Let's Read Higurashi. So we're here on what is looking to be the finale of the Watanagashi chapter, which is exciting because, we're kind of approaching the end of another long stretch of gameplay, which was always climactic. Curious where things are going. At this point, it seems like it's either Shion, who was the mastermind who disappeared and then did a bunch of bad stuff, or it's Mion pretending to be her, and we don't know which it is. So, I'm excited to see as we're going to storm the Sonozaki estate. It'll be like that one mission in Yakuza 3? 2. 2 had the lions, the tigers, rather. It'll be like Yakuza 2. Anyways, let's get going.
放っておいてやれ。
Oh.
友達が行方不明になったんだ。
Yeah.
気の毒にな。
Normally, my dad never shows me any consideration, but this time he did.
うちの圭一もしばらくの間学校を控えた方がいいんじゃないのか？警察が何とかするまで外出を控えた方が安全だと思うぞ。
Oh, is mom gonna be like, but his grades?
そうね。もしもってことに比べたら。
Yeah, right? Good.
学校を何日かお休みにするくらい。
Thank you for actually being logical about this.
それよりもこんな物騒な事態になったら、
Right?
学校なんか休校にするのが筋じゃないのか？
Right?
まったく。学校の先生方は人の子を何だと思ってるんだ。
Oh, no. This isn't up to the teachers. This is absolutely up to the fact that the parents would complain and they'd be like, well, where will my child go? Well, it's a work day. And it's like, can't they just stay home? No, my little schnookums needs to be looked after. Mom and Dad were getting pretty riled up, but at this point, I couldn't care less. Besides, that wasn't the only thing I couldn't care less about. The breakfast table, the food in front of me, the time and date, myself, I really had no interest in anything. This feeling, it was like a dead fog in my mind. I felt like getting dizzy after taking strong medication.
圭一、学校の勉強はどうなんだ？圭一の方が進んでるくらいじゃないのか？もしそうなら、しばらくお休みしてもいいんだぞ。
It's nice to see Dad actually fully caring for us. I didn't even feel like answering. Today was Thursday. Only 4 days had passed since the Watanagashi festival. Such a short time. And yet now things were completely different. Everything had changed. The tranquil village, bright and clear, as if it were an Indian summer. Is that a saying? Never heard that one before. Had undergone a total reversal. People were made to disappear every night, and we couldn't even relax when walking out in broad daylight. The village had become a world of fear. I had no right to curse this outcome. After all, the one responsible for everything was me. That night, I couldn't resist my tiny, little, and incredibly stupid curiosity and broke the taboo.
ここは入ってはいけないところなんだろう。やめようぜ。
Is this just a flashback? Kinda looks like it.
鍵がかかっているのを勝手に開けて押し入るなんて、たとえ物を盗まなくったって犯罪なんだぞ。シオンだってこれが合いびき現場じゃないと分かったなら十分だろう。俺はこんなのには全然興味はないんだ。こんなところにいる間にリカちゃんの演舞が終わっちゃったらどうするんだよ。
Is this literally just a flashback? I prattled on as I took the lock from Tomitaka-san's hands and put it back on the door. I'll forget everything I saw here, and so, come on. Let's go. Takano-san was fretting, but I pushed her away. Tomitaka-san grinned painfully. Shion's shoulders dropped as if to call me an idiot. Even so, I didn't care. I pushed everyone farther and farther along. Sorry, I pushed everyone farther and farther away. Rika-chan's dance was still going on. Then, at last, her dance was brought to a close with roaring applause. I, too, until my hands turned red, I clapped, and I clapped. Ding dong.
レナちゃんじゃない？
Oh, right. Yeah, she's still around. For now.
いつもの時間だから迎えに来たんじゃない？
God, what if it's Mion? I looked up the clock. It was 5 minutes past my time to meet with
ケイ
Rena.
チ、しばらく学校を休んだ方がいいんじゃないのか？
そうだね。気を使ってくれてありがとう。
I rose from my seat. Went to the entrance to greet Rena. Here it comes. Here it comes. Oh no, it's normal.
今日から集団登校だから。遅れちゃダメだよ。
Oh, that's right. If we, the ones farthest away, were to be late, the younger kids on the way would be waiting for us. Oh, that means we have to literally be, like, there to help the young
俺
ones.
さ、今日からしばらく休むことにするよ。学校。
Oh, he's okay with it. Rena answered shortly,
圭
nodding.
一くんが自分の体に一番優しい過ごし方を。だから別に引け目を感じることなんかないと思うな。あ、それからこれ回覧板。お母様に渡しておいてくれるかな。いろいろ大事なお知らせがあるみたいだから。
I took the notice. There were a lot more pages than normal. The one on top announced the disappearance of the mayor, Rika-chan and Satoko, and that they wanted any information about them. It made my heart ache.
警察も必死に探してくれてる。きっと見つかるから。待ってよ。ね。
Rena said, smiling in an attempt to give me courage. Rather than that, though, her smile looked like it was because she herself wanted to believe they were safe.
レナは俺を問い詰めないんだな。
うん。
レナは知ってるんだろ。俺があの晩。
西宮殿に忍び込んだこと。
I heard her say shinobi, yet snuck in. I was speechless for a moment, but then I bit my lip, made up my mind, and nodded a little.
筒抜けなんだな。まったく悪いことはするもんじゃないよ。
みーちゃんはすごく怒ってたよ。
So, she was upset. I suppose, well, she would have been.
でもね、きっとみーちゃんが怒ってたのは、
Oh?
忍び込んだことよりも、
Was it the lying?
それを隠していたことだと思う。
Yeah. Especially being there with Shion, right?
圭一くんは自分から言い出して謝らなくちゃいけなかったんじゃないかな。
God, this is the... Again, the horror of this chapter is the horror of you made a mistake, it's too late to apologize, and you realize it later, which is the worst fear. I should have told her myself and apologized. That troubled me. Just 1 week ago, I did something that I myself should have apologized to Mion for. I'd hurt her badly. However, I didn't realize that at all. Plus, with all the confusion that Shion's appearance had brought, I still hadn't been able to talk to Mion about it.
レナの言う通りだな。俺はいつもレナに教えられるまで何も気づかなくて。
I am very, very stupid.
圭一くん、もしもだよ。もしも圭一くんが悪いことをしたことをすぐに認めて、みーちゃん
Hypothetically,
に謝っていたら、リカ
yeah,
ちゃんとさとこちゃんはいなくならずに済んだのかな。
don't put that on me. I couldn't answer right away. I couldn't admit to that. Wasn't Rena telling me right now, though, that I should have admitted to my crimes sooner? If I'd done that and apologized, would things not have gone in such a horrible direction? Rena's eyes were filled with kindness, but they weren't naive enough to forgive me for keeping silent, and they stared fixedly into my own.
あ、そうだ。
If I'd admitted my crimes sooner, Rika-chan and Satoko wouldn't have had to die or disappear. Oh. The palm of Rena's hand slapped me in the cheek. I stood there unmoving. I don't know, I feel like that should have been a different sound effect. I feel like that should have been a slap and not a fighting game hit sound. My head still tilted in the direction I've been hit. It didn't hurt at all.
誰も圭一君のことを叱らなかったと思う。
Nope.
だから私が代わりに圭一君を叱るね。
I pressed a hand to my cheek, now warm with embarrassment, and quietly stared down at Rena's feet.
入っ
Too
て
many
はい
R
けない
names.
ところに勝手に入るのはとても悪いこと。
Oh my god.
それはわかる？
She's like surprisingly mature. And I've noticed this, like a big difference is she's like been really mature in these last couple parts to a point where I'm seriously wondering if is her cute mode stuff an entirely created facade? Because like she's so different, right? I really have to wonder.
あ
返事ははいだよ。
Oh, sorry, ma'am.
あ、はい。
Yeah, there you go.
そしてもっと悪いのは自分が悪いことをしたのを認めないこと。
Listen to that like again, maturity to her voice now.
悪いことをするのはとてもいけないことだけど、それを認めて謝らないことはもっともっと悪いことなんだよ。
Dude, we've needed this.
はい。僕が悪かったです。
For a few moments, Rena stared at me, silently and intently, as if gauging my remorse. Then, finally, the tension in her face softened and she smiled.
じゃあもう時間だから私は行くよ。
あ
回覧板お母様に渡しておいてね。
Are we gonna look at the back of it? It's gonna say don't trust the police or
あ
something.
と回覧板は暗くなったら持っていかないようにって注意付きだから。
Warn her not to go out to pass it on. After what? Also, warn her to not go out to pass it on after it gets dark. What does that mean? Huh? Am I confused? Why is that sentence weird? I bent down to pick up the notice, which I dropped when she slapped me. The pages had come out of the clasp and were now making a mess on the floor. I gathered them up one by one. My hand stopped at a single, more light-hearted page with peaceful sentences dancing on it. We still have plenty of homemade soy sauce in stock. Oh my god. Feel free to come to the Sonozaki house if you want some.
なんだこれ。
Oh my god. I picked this page up and oh my god, she must have known and scanned the rest of it. They were stockpiling high-quality soy sauce they got from faraway relatives in the Akita prefecture. So, like, I don't know if you've ever had, like, really good quality soy sauce, but I fully understand why she'd go get it, because good quality soy sauce is immaculate, and low-quality soy sauce is like, it's like ketchup. When you get that high-quality ketchup, that stuff is killer, you know? They got a big shipment recently. They couldn't use it all, so they wanted anyone who wanted some of it to feel free to come over, is what it said. As a PS, it said it arrived in barrels and to please bring a 2-liter bottle or other container for it. That's how it tied together. Oh my god.
醤油をもらいに行くなら園崎家か。レナ、お前ひょっとして知ってたんじゃ。
うん。
Oh.
知ってた。
Oh. Rena had already been suspicious of Mion as soon as she noticed the big bottle of soy sauce was missing. Rika-chan had taken the bottle, gone to Mion's house, and there she was erased. Rika-chan wasn't coming back, so Satoko called Mion's house since she knew where she had gone, and then Satoko got called there as well. The meeting on the day the mayor disappeared. Didn't Oishi-san say that the 3 families participated in it? The 3 families would include the Sonozaki family. Didn't he also say that the current leader was really old, so her heir Mion frequently stood in for her at public appearances? While the mayor was returning from the shrine, Mion called out and stopped him. She talked to him and invited him to their house, and then She made him disappear. It was probably even simpler to make Shion disappear. See, okay, no, I do think he's assuming that Shion was made to disappear. I still think there's some stuff going on with Shion and Mion switching, and it's actually Shion. I don't know, something about it. I don't know. Shion was part of the Sonozaki family. They probably knew exactly what she was doing at all times. I'm sure they even knew her part-time job schedule too. Thinking back, wasn't that Angel Mort's store managed by the Sonozaki family? Setting up an ambush for her there wouldn't have been any trouble at all. Oh boy. We're storming the castle of the baddie. Maybe. I don't know if you could call her that, but...
もう全部終わりにしてもらう。ミョンはきっと簡単には許してくれないだろうけど、もうこれ以上誰も犠牲にならないように頼んでくる。
With that decided, there was no need for me to be lazing around here. I put on my shoes and slipped past Rena to the exit my house. When she stopped me...
私も行くよ。
Oh.
レナ、学校はいいのかよ。
学校なんかより
True,
もっと大
true.
切な用事だよ。
レナは来るな。この上レナまで巻き込まれたら、俺は頭がどうにかなってしまうかもしれない。
At this point, you need backup to help verify everything. Also someone who can help explain the situation. Rena did move her arm, which was blocking my way.
ケイチ君までいなくなったら、私も頭がどうにかなってしまうかもしれない。だから、ケイチ君だけを行かせない。
Rena argued boldly, as tears welled up in her eyes. I saw them, and I knew the strength of her
わ
resolve.
かった。行こう。ありがとう。レナ。
Rena nodded slightly, but firmly, and finally let down the arm blocking me. Let's go. To Mion's house. I'll apologize for the crimes I've committed. Then we'll put an end to these twisted days. After that, I'll pray that once more we can return to those fun, lively days. With Rena following me, I left the house. In front of the house, there was a car waiting. Oh my god. It was Oishi-san.
いやあ、おはようございます。
How planned was this?
前原さん、それから龍宮さんも朝から羨ましいですね。
I'll take less laughing, please. What a truly praiseworthy man he was. If he had been lying in wait so early in the morning just to pressure me into talking. On this morning, though, maybe this was actually a good opportunity.
警察の方ですよね。
ありゃ、龍宮さんには名乗ってませんでしたっけ？これは失礼しました。私、沖宮署の大石と申します。どうぞよろしく。
大石さんに喋るのか？
うん。ケイチ君の罪は私の平手だけであがなえるけど、
Wow.
みーちゃんの罪はこの人たちにあがなってもらわなくちゃいけない。
Pain and sadness. I looked down as those emotions built up in my heart.
大石さんにお話があります。
はてはて、どんなお話でしょうか？ここで立ち話します？それとも車の中でしますか？
車の中でします。
I only continued to look down weakly. All I could do was be thankful for how dependable Rena was. So hey, can you Uber us there? That'd be nice. At Rena's urging, I revealed everything to Oishi-san. The latter, while making sure to throw in murmurs that he was paying attention every now and then, took notes. We continued that way for a while.
どうです。話したら、なんだか胸がすっきりしたんじゃないですか？
Oishi-san asked this while scratching his head with his ballpoint pen. Of course I don't feel better. The price that had been paid up until now for me not owning up to my crimes had been so immense. But as long as that payment wasn't returned, the load on my chest could never be removed. His radio started to emit static.
はい、もしもし、大石です。
Oh. Oh my god, we're doing
は
this.
いはい。引き続き見張りお願いします。
Tell him this old man is jacking off. And then he's like, Roger that. Plan 2, the one that we always use.
答えに窮したら、実は居眠りしてて起こさないように
Oh,
言わ
that's
れ
what
て
we
る
call
と
it?
か、ご
The
まかしとい
morning
てくだ
nap?
さい。
Alright, I getcha. Bzz, the radio grew
いや、
silent.
失礼。仕事の連絡でした。
今園崎家前は動きなしって言ってましたよね。
ありゃん、そんな風に聞こ
Oh
えちゃ
my
いました。
god, was this planned all along?
そりゃ困ったな。秘密にしてくださいよ。課長から内定の許可はもらってないんですから。
Oishi-san had suspected Mion for a long
事
time.
情聴取も家宅捜査も、とにかく何にも許可が下りないんですよ。園崎本家を守ろうという園崎家の防衛機能がガッキガキに作用しちゃってるらしくて。
The way you say Sonozaki House's defenses makes me think of like automatic guns coming out of the walls, various animals, you know, maybe a robot. What are we talking about?
令状がなくちゃ、私たち現行犯以外は何にも手出しできませんからね。
Wait. Are you gonna make us break and enter? Wait.
大石さんってひょっとして。
Rena's tone of voice alone was enough to make her spite clear. She stared at Oishi-san.
園崎家に踏み込めないものだから圭一君に踏み込ませようとしてたんじゃないですか。
レナ、それはどういう意味
Because
だ
then it's breaking and entering or trespassing.
この人は私の想像通りならとても卑劣な人。
It's extremely dirty, but God, if it's not effective.
人聞きが悪いですね。
That's kind of incredible.
でも、お説は拝聴しますよ。
Oishi-san lit a cigarette and handed it to Rena, wearing an expression implying he was calm and willing to let her comments slide.
あなたは令状が取れないけれどみーちゃんが怪しいとずっと狙いをつけていた。圭一君を焚きつけて園崎家へ向かわせようと企んだ。そして圭一君に何かがあればそれを口実に踏み込むつもりだった。そうでしょう。
I only understood about half of what Rena was saying, which was crazy considering it's all fairly basic English. I knew, however, that Oishi-san had been trying to use me.
その結果圭一君が襲われるかもしれないのに恥知らず。これが警察のやり方なの？
Yep. That's what they do.
いやいや、こりゃとんだところに名探偵がいたもんです。いやはや。あなた、うちの試験受ける気ありません？刑事課配属の推薦状書いてあげてもいいですよ。
卑劣か。
Rena spoke quietly, her words dripping with hostility.
私もいろんな悪口を言われたもんですが、若いお嬢さんの短い一言が一番答えますよ。
でも結果として今日までみーちゃんを逮捕しなかったことには感謝しておきますね。
そりゃどうも。
Oishi-san seemed to be enjoying his exchange with Rena. The things this man thought were like a swamp, I could barely see past the surface. It reminded me again of how much I disliked him.
さて、その園崎美音さんの親友であらせられるお二人は、私が証拠固めを終えて令状が請求できるまでのんびり待っててくれるわけですかな。
そんなの待ちません。私たちが行ってみーちゃんを自首させます。
That's right. If she turned herself in rather than being arrested, she might get a lighter sentence. At this point, perhaps that was the only pity I could find in me to afford her.
さて、そんなにうまくいくでしょうかね。下手すりゃあなたたちも無事では済まないかもしれませんよ。
Oishi-san was measuring our resolve. So in a strong voice, I declared,
そんなのは覚悟の上です。
We got no potions, no equipment. We haven't saved in hours. Let's go. Oishi-san gave us an unpleasant yet seemingly satisfied grin. It was then I realized that this man was trying to use us for his own convenience. It took us this long.
もし私たちに何かあったなら、それを口実に踏み込んでください。犯人を取り逃がさないように、ぐるりと取り囲んでくださるのが一番の希望なんですが。
竜宮さんは交渉も上手です。参りましたよ。降参です。
どういうことだよ。
警察の人がみーちゃんの家を包囲しておいてくれるなら、これが万が一の時の保険になるの。万が一の時の。
Plus, it would be another way of pressuring Mion to give herself up, wouldn't it?
ああ、大石より熊ちゃんへ。大石より熊ちゃんへ。お友達が2人、園崎家へ遊びに
Oh
行きます。
my god, we're going on a play date, huh?
増援をかけられるよう準備だけよろしく願います。
Their altogether too short conversation implied that our questioning was already part of their plans.
では、参りましょうか。お茶菓子でも買っていきます。
Oh, awesome tea biscuits. Don't mind if I do. Neither Rena nor I went along with Oishi-san's stupid joke. Wow, that was a quick letterboxing. I say as it's been 26 minutes. I feel like it's going to be a long part. This might even be 2 parts. I don't know. You'll know if it says end or finale in the title and thumbnail. I haven't decided yet. I don't know how long it's going to go. Oishi-san stopped the car at the place where we always waited for Mion. Come to think of it, I've never been to Mion's house before. I've only heard that it's right down this road.
お送りできるのはここまでです。情報では、園崎本家は自宅周辺に監視カメラをかなり配置しているらし
Crazy
い
in
で
this
す。
current year.
でもご安心を。
As in like the gear in the game, not nowadays, no. Nowadays people put like security cameras in their like child's bedrooms and in every room of their house, which is scary. Please don't do that, but
何度か資格をついて突入できる位置に若いのが何人か待機してます。指向性マイクで中を伺ってますから、お二人が大きな悲鳴を上げてくださればすぐにわかりますよ。
I feel like most mics are one-way mics, but
絶対に説得しますから、自首を認めてくださいね。
in both our eyes was determination, just like an Undertale. It was the only method available for us for lightening the sins of our good
く
friend.
れぐれも注意してください。今さら信じないでしょうが、できることならあなたたちに犠牲になってほしくないんですから。
本当に今更だな。
With that rude response, we left the car. The clinging humidity in the voice of the cicadas greeted us. I'd never have expected this would be happening today.
行こう、ケイチ君。
Rena took the lead and began to walk. Down the road I'd never
レ
been.
ナはミオンの家には行ったことがあるんだよな。
うん、何度もあるよ。とても大きな家でね。お庭なんか山が丸ごと
Wow.
入るくらいあるんだよ。松茸が取れるとかなんとかで、いつも
Wow.
柵がしてあるんだけどね。
Big enough to fit a mountain. That was amazing. One of the 3 families controlling Hinamizawa, and the head family of the Sonozaki clan. Perhaps there was something to be said about its magnitude. The path continued onward, level and uneven. Uneventful. I was like, how could it be level and uneven? There were metal fences along its edges, and beyond them were woods with trees growing thickly. The fences were high, the tops of them bent inwards, sticking out like sharp spears. Plus, there was dangerous-looking barbed wire wrapping them. No one could look at them and not feel intimidated. In addition, there were signboards hung up here and there along the fence. Private property of the Sonozaki family, entrance forbidden. Beware of venomous snakes. Are they gonna throw snakes at us? Active security cameras. Intruders will be charged an entry fee of 1 million yen, which is like, it's like
この
$10,000.
森、いや、 山かまるまる庭なのか。
庭というか領地だね。見ての通り私有地ではあるけど、手入れも何もしてないから散策ができるような気持ちいい森というわけでもないし。
She could say that again. Really did feel like a neglected savage woodland. It was dark and damp, and certainly not a forest that made you want to go for a nice walk. Maybe that's just what happens when the landowner has too much land. Like Oishi-san said, there were security cameras hung up all over the place. Though they had been withered by wind and rain, casting doubt as to whether they were even functional.
俺たちが来るのミオンはあれを通して見てるんだろうか。
You know what this reminds me of? For some reason, this really reminds me of when you're like storming Hyrule Castle, like in Breath of the Wild. Just like that's what it feels like with like security cameras, and you're like, oh God, am I prepared? You know?
見てないと思うな。だってみーちゃんの家は基本的におばあちゃんとみーちゃん本人の2人しか住んでないんだもの。
Why would you even need a house that big then? Like, what's the point, right? Because like if it's that big and there's two people there and one of them's old, that just feels confusing.
カメラを見張ってる人がいないし。
What a useless security system.
みーちゃんのお父さんがいろいろ大変な人みたいでね。だから一族がみんなで集まるときには
Oh,
ちゃんと機能
okay.
しているらしいよ。
That's right. Mion's father was a big shot Yakuza, wasn't he? Rena smoothly danced around the answer as she explained. At last, a huge gate, as big as I'd imagined, appeared. Was she living by herself with her grandma? In a house with such a grand gateway?
いるかな。
Beep. The old buzzer made a dull sound. Was it cut off in the middle and not getting to the house? We waited long enough for a response for me to start thinking that. However, we finally heard footsteps walking through the gravel on the other side of the gate. I nervously balled my hands, my palms now sweating into fists. There was a clang of a bolt being released and the gate opened slightly. The person peeking out of the gap was none other than Mion.
こんな時間に珍しいね。二人とも学校は？
Mion didn't seem all that surprised at visitors arriving in the morning, which wasn't a normal time. In fact, she almost seemed relaxed, as if she knew we were coming beforehand.
学校は休んだよ。
ケイちゃんはともかく、レナも二人とも不良なんだからな。
Mion smiled lightly, in the way that the Mion we always knew did.
立ち話もなんでしょ。入りなよ。
She gestured for us to follow her. I hesitated for a moment, looking at Rena.
行こう。
Rena smiled cheerfully, as if we were just passing through the gate of a good friend's house, and then did just that. I rally myself and go through the gate too. Wow, that's you know what? I didn't expect it to look like this, honestly. I definitely expected way more modern. I expected like a tonal estate, you know? On the other side, well, it hadn't been very maintained very well, but it was clear that the lot was magnificently wide. It wasn't quite, what you'd think of when you hear mansion, but it was clearly a vast place.
ケイちゃんはうちに来るの初めてだったっけ？
ああ、でけえ家じゃねえか。
今時合掌造りなんて流行らないよ。
No. Not after Trogdor. He really hates those thatch roof cottages!
観光資源にはなるかもしれないけどね。私は早くごくごく平均的な鉄筋コンクリートに建て替えてほしいと思ってるよ。
God, I just realized that reference will totally fly over the heads of so many people now. Because it's like really old. Remember when Trogdor was in like Guitar Hero? God, there might be people watching this that are even too young to have played Guitar Hero. Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm getting old. Oh, I'm disintegrating. Oh, it's going. Oh, it sucks. Ah, my body. Mion dryly smiled as she said that, then closed the gate and relocked the heavy bolt.
気にしないで。最近は物騒だからね。
That's, yeah, it's something to say.
日中でもこれくらいはしておかないと。
ああ、そうだな。
Maybe it was my imagination, but I thought I saw the hint of a shadow in her smile.
では、ご案内申し上げます。どうぞこちらへ。
Mion bowed to us like a worker at a high-class hotel, then pivoted on her heel and began to walk. Rena gripped my stiffening arm lightly.
ケイチくん、硬くなりすぎかな。私たちはみーちゃんに会いに来たんだよ。そんなに緊張することはないんだから。
That's right. When I get nervous, I tend to let everything show on my face. I'll stop tensing up. Even if something were to happen, there were two of us. Oishi-san's subordinates were waiting outside the gate for us, too. There was nothing to worry about. After thinking about it that much, I realized my nervousness was already gone, and I laughed at myself.
なんだこりゃ。ミオン、この新聞紙の上に置いてある漬物石はなんだ？邪魔だぞ。
There was a pile of newspapers on the floor at the entrance, and there was a large rock on top of them. I didn't understand why something like that was here. Rena noticed me looking blah blah blah. Rena noticed me looking at it questioningly and giggled.
レナは知ってるのか？これはなんだ？何かのおまじないか？
ケイちゃんがよくわからないなら、それをどかしてそこに靴を脱いでもいいんだけど。
ケイチくん、その石の真上にね、
Oh,
ツバメの巣があるの。
え？あ、本当だ。
okay.
人
Hi,
様の
birds.
家なのに、ツバメが勝手に入ってきて巣を作ってるってわけ。代々語り継いでるのか。季節になると決まってここに巣を作るんだよ。
How sweet. They're nesting at the murder house.
迷惑してるんだけどね。
つまりね、そこはツバメの糞とかが落ちてきて危ないから、靴を脱がないようにっていう目印なの。
That's the second worst thing that can happen with the word swallow poop. I don't know. I should have workshopped that one a bit more. I couldn't help but laugh at that silly contrivance. My laughter naturally spread to the other two.
園崎家も大昔、養蚕とかやってたことがあるらしくてね。
Oh, worm?
ご先祖様はツバメ退治に躍起になったそうだけどね。それを思うと、これはちょっと罰当たりなのかな。ま、上がって上がって。
Oh, well, this place looks nice. That is a very low and fast-moving river, it looks like. The inside of the house wasn't very bright at all. It was dimly lit, in fact, but mysteriously, I could still feel an elegance to the place. Mion seemed to want a more modern building, but, well, traditional houses like this aren't bad either.
冗談でしょ。隙間風は入るし、冬場は寒いし、人の家を勝手に文化財にして改築を妨害しないでもらいたいね。一番の理想はケイちゃんの家でしょ。あれは羨ましいよな。冬場は暖かそうだし。あ、でも雪下ろしは大変かもね。
雪下ろしは大変って、そんなに雪が降るのか？緯度は関東より南なくらいだろ？
Yeah.
ここいらって暖かい土地なんじゃないのか？
ケイチくん知らないの？
Wait, the village is south of Kanto? Wait, I need to look at a map here. Because that seems pretty low. Map of Japanese provinces. Because I was actually just looking up today. Not Japanese pronouns gender. That's not what I meant. Why did that type in? Because, so I was looking today at if I wanted to go to... Oh, okay, well, no, you know what? I was, because I always think that because Kanto's where Tokyo is, right? It's in that, like, bottom... Like, because in my brain, I think of it as, like, the bottom right. But really, it's just middle, right? Because the whole place is kind of curved, right? So that means, you know... So I was looking today at the village that Hinamizawa was based on, because I'm like, I kind of want to go see it. It's super not to the south of there, right? Because then, let me see here. Village, Hinamizawa, based on... So the village that it's based on is Shirakara-go. Shirakawa-go in Gifu Prefecture. So if I look at that on the map, just looking here, because on the map it is, isn't it north of Kanto? Oh, no, it's just kind of directly, it's kind of just directly west. Okay, I guess I could see why they'd say it's south, though. It's definitely a bit south, right? And then again, if we're more south than Kanto, Kanto doesn't get a ton of snow, so I can sort of see why there wouldn't be much here.
ひなみ沢は豪雪地帯なんだよ。
But of course, you know, if you're up on mountains, that would cause snow.
大雪が降るとみんな埋まっちゃうの。
Just like home.
玄関なんか埋まっちゃう時もあるんだよ。
Just like home.
止めた車が完全に埋まっちゃって見つからないことだってあるんだから。
Just like home. I wasn't aware of that. Hinamizawa was that bad a place in the winter? Come to think of it, my dad, he said something like this place got plenty of snow, and so it could be fun building igloos. Still, your front door getting buried, not being able to find your car? That's way too much snow. Buddy, tell me about it.
地理の授業で習ったでしょ。日本海側は大陸からの寒風がそのまま流れてくるからね。
Okay, so we are... Like, yeah, we'd have to be west if we're more south.
山脈で遮られてぬくぬくしてるような軟弱な太平洋側とはわけが違うんだから。
俺、軟弱でもぬくぬくでもなんでもいい。寒いのは嫌だ。
これは今年の冬はケイちゃんを寒さに慣らすための強化合宿が必要だね。
嫌だ嫌だ、全力で嫌だ。寒いのは嫌いだ。強化合宿も嫌いだ。両方合わさったらもっと嫌いだ。
What a nice little time we're having. Let's not forget about why we're here. Mion left more uproariously than she ever had, and told us she'd bring out some tea and left her seat for a moment.
でもね、冬は冬で楽しいことがいっぱいあるんだよ。
Yeah, like what?
冬の部活もね、きっと
Oh,
楽しいんだ
okay.
よ。
In the club, I guess you mean playing games inside. You're correct.
冬の部活か。実に嫌な響きのある部活だぞ。寒中水泳やら雪中行軍やら、ここはいつから八甲田山になったんだ。
What is that reference?
うん、確かに冬場の罰ゲームは辛いのが多いね。雪が降ってる校庭でリオのカーニバルをさせられたことある。
Oh. Hopefully you weren't wearing the outfits. I see the terror of our club cared not for the season. The victor would be decided by who would best adapt to the winter-only events.
雪合戦もやるし、かき氷の大食いとか雪中宝探しとか。
だからなんで外で遊ぶんだよ。雪が降ってんだから、ぬくぬくとお部屋でテーブルゲームで遊べばいいじゃないかよ。
ケイチくん、そんなこと言ってると冬場はいっぱい負けちゃうかもね。ケイチくん、罰ゲームいっぱいでレナは負けない。
はうじゃねえ。
I settle things with a cross chop to the head.
盛り上がってるな。壁が薄いんだからぶち抜かないようにしてよね。
Is that Chekhov's wall? The paper sliding door opened and Mion returned with a pot and complete tea
お
set.
茶受けはごませんでいい？羊羹とか気の利いたものがなくて申し訳ないね。
あ、いいよいいよ。別にお茶を飲みに来たわけじゃないし。
Oh boy. And with those words, the smile disappeared from Rena's face. Ah, she did it. That one careless statement reminded us of what we had nearly been able to forget. I'd wanted to enjoy this peaceful time for a little longer, but we put an end to that with those honestly careless words. When she noticed the smile disappeared from Rena's expression, Mion too changed hers. It was as if the cheerful air that was like a warm spring day until a moment ago had slipped through the cracks in the paper door and altogether disappeared. There was no point in regretting it now. We did not come here today to chat and enjoy ourselves. Mion silently poured the tea. During that time, both Ren and I sat kneeling without uttering a word.
どうぞ召し上がれ。
We couldn't even utter a word of acknowledgement at those natural words of curiosity or courtesy.
毒なんか入ってないよ。そこまで信用ないかな。心外だね。
Mion gave a bitter smile at that and let her shoulders droop. We all remained silent. We remained silent, hoping that someone else would speak up first. That was, however, one thing we didn't want to do, and so we sat for a long time. At last, Mion smiled scornfully and opened her mouth to speak.
おいおい、ケイちゃんもレナも客はそっちなんだよ。用があって来たんじゃないの。そっちから切り出してくれなきゃおじさんも困っちゃうんだけどな。
Like, so here's the thing, from the way she's acting, like, I don't know if she's putting on a front still, or if, like, she truly is innocent, or if she's, like, secretly trying to be, like, protective of us, and I don't know what's going on. Ren and I exchanged glances. We both resigned ourselves. Rena opened her mouth to speak first, so I stopped her.
ケイチ君。
いいんだ。俺は来るべくして来たんだ。俺から喋らせてくれ。
うん。わかった。
ケイちゃんが私に何の話かな。
Oh god, she's been waiting for this.
お宅のお嬢さんを私にください。ダメだよ。うちのレナはケイちゃんとは釣り合わないね。
Oh my god, that's really sad when you remember the whole thing of her maybe liking him.
汁で顔を洗って出直しておいで。
Is that a saying? Okay. Afterwards, I thought her mean remarks were Mion's way of showing consideration. Mion had said those mean things in a totally normal voice, and it drained the tension from my shoulders.
ミオン、まず謝ることがある。
ケイちゃんが何を？
Mion pretended that she didn't know what I was talking about, but I'd clearly gotten my point across.
綿流しの晩、俺は神社の祭具殿に入ったんだ。
I could see Mion's expression immediately become
入っ
harder.
てはいけない場所だったのは知ってた。でもほんのちょっとした探検のつもりで悪気はなかったんだよ。でもいけないことだったんだよな。謝る。この通り。
To display my deepest sincerity, I pressed my forehead to the table. I meant it as a way of prostrating myself. I figured it wouldn't feel sincere enough if I raised my head right away, so I left it there on the table for a while. Mion didn't say anything. I seriously wonder if she's disappointed that we're apologizing for that and not the first plushie incident. With my face down, I couldn't tell what sort of expression Mion had. Only the voices of the only the cry of the Higurashi filled the room. Mixed with them, I could hear the sound of the clock ticking. That was all. When I started to struggle to breathe from having my head down for so long, Mion told me to stop.
参ったな。いきなり直球勝負で来るとは思わなかったよ。参った参った。
I looked up to see that Mion's face was calm, but she was smiling faintly.
ケイちゃんにとっては面白半分の探検でも、それが笑い事では済まないと思ってる人たちも大勢いるってことを。それでいいよ。郷に入りては郷に従えって昔から言うもんね。
See, it's funny actually, because I know that that's not what the saying is in Japanese, but apparently there's a Japanese saying that is nearly identical.
あれからもう何日も経ってる。今更だとは思うが、謝る。悪かった。許してくれ。
I could feel pitiful tears welling up within me. If I'd done this sooner, maybe nothing terrible would have happened.
いいよ。ケイちゃんが悪いことをしたと思ったならそれでいいんじゃない？
Mion spoke like it was someone else's problem, and I wasn't happy about it.
兄ちゃん、ケイチ君はちゃんと真面目に謝ってるんだよ。みーちゃんも真剣に答えてあげるべきじゃないのかな。
私は真剣だよ。レナには私が不真面目そうに見える？
見えるよ。
Rena was giving her tit for tat, and so the room's atmosphere quickly began to grow sharper. She was right. Even though I came here to speak from the heart like this, it felt like she wasn't taking this seriously. Obviously, Rena isn't fond of that.
ケイチ君、もういいよ。全部話そう。みーちゃんもそれを望んでいるようだし。
I had known it would turn out like this from the beginning. Hadn't I come here prepared for that? I mustered my willpower and bit my lip.
ミオ、おととい、リカちゃんとサトコを呼んだろ。
覚えはないけど、そう思うに足る根拠があるなら聞かせてもらえ
Oh
る？
God.
夕方過ぎのリカちゃんが来たはずだよ。お醤油の大瓶を持ってお裾分けしてもらいに。
Mion was trying to keep her from showing any reaction, but I didn't miss her eyelid twitching just a little bit.
どうしてそう思う？
そんなに難しい話じゃない。みーちゃんも見たでしょ、リカちゃんの部屋。
Mion put a finger to her forehead and acted like she was
冷や
thinking.
やっこがあるのにお醤油がなかった。そして流しの下にあるはずの醤油の大瓶も瓶ごとなかった。
何それ？それが私のとこへ来る理由になるわけ？
ミオ、いい加減にしろ。お前が自分で回覧板に書いたんじゃないか。醤油をお裾分けするって。
That's a nefarious smile. Mion scratched her head. I heard her ever so faintly click her tongue. It was as though we found out that she'd purposely given too little change to a servant. That's all I could feel from her.
そしてみーちゃんはリカちゃんを隠してしまった。
I seriously had to think about what you era meant, and then I'm like, oh, that means erased. Rena hesitated for a moment. I could tell she didn't want to use the word erased, and that she was struggling to find another word.
そして本当はそれで終わりのはずだったんだよね、みーちゃんにとっては。
そりゃあどういう意味かな？
リカちゃんがみーちゃんの家に行くことをさとこちゃんに言い残していたのは誤算だったんじゃないかな。
That's a terrifying inhale.
そしてさとこちゃんはみーちゃんの家に電話をした。うちのリカがお邪魔してませんこと？うん、きっとこんな感じ。
似てる似てる。
みーちゃんはちょっとまずいと思ったんだよね。リカちゃんがここに来たことを知る人間がいたから。だからさとこちゃんも誘い出そうと思った。
誘い出す？へえ、どんな感じでかな？
Mion prodded Rena on as if trying to get to the good part of an interesting story. I, however, knew. I'd been watching Mion change the whole time. She was restlessly twirling her fingers. She had clearly lost her calm. Of course, it was really a slight thing, and only I, who had been watching her this whole time, would have known. Mion was panicking. What Rena was saying must have been a bullseye.
きっとこんな感じだよ。さとこ、実は今日食事を作りすぎちゃったんだけど、リカちゃんは先に来て、もう食べてるよ。こんな感じ。
Scratch. Mion's nails dug into her knee.
へえ、電話の内容の記録テープがあるわけでもない
Oh
のに、
man, we're
どう
getting
して
her.
そこまで？
冷蔵庫にさとこちゃんの作った2人分のお夕食が丸々手つかずでラップに包まれて入ってたから。
For a few moments, Mion's face was frozen in utter amazement. She looked like she couldn't believe that this person in front of her was Rena.
そんなことでどうやったら電話で喋った内容まで
Oh,
察しが
well,
つい
okay,
ちゃう
well,
わ
you
け？
just admitted it.
長くなるから説明は省くけど、
'Cause you just told me, fox boy.
冷蔵庫の中身がみーちゃんの呼び出した話の内容まで如実に物語っちゃってるの。
Mion's jaw remained on the floor. That was the only way I could describe her face.
これは
Oh boy.
とんだ名探偵が身近にいたもんだよ。まさか冷蔵庫の中身だけで電話の内容まで見破るとは。参ったな。参った参った。
As if a dam had burst, Mion convulsed into laughter. Her laughter, though, Definitely didn't make us want to laugh as well. Mion grew tired of her dumb laughter and heaved a big sigh and scratched her head. It almost seemed like Mion had lost a detected punishment game for the club or something, and her punishment had been decided. No, how fun that would have been if it were true.
とんだ名探偵か。みーちゃんこそ大石さんがした会話の内容までよく察しがつくね。大石さんも私のこととんだ名探偵って言ったもの。
As soon as she heard Oishi-san's name, Oh, we brought the cops in. Mion's eyes began to display panic more clearly so that anybody would be able to tell.
警察はもうとっくにお前を疑ってるんだ。この家も大石さんの部下が踏み込もうと今も様子を伺ってる。
I feel like we shouldn't be telling her this. Mion attempted to feign calm, but it looked like she was having a hard time with that. Part of her couldn't believe that the police had her surrounded, and she closely examined Rena's facial expression. However, she couldn't detect a hint of falsehood. Finally, Mion seemed to accept the fact that the police were encircling the house.
村長さんもみーちゃんが。
富武さんと高野さんもミオンなのか？
Mion didn't answer our rapid-fire questions. I could clearly see impatience in her eyes, which were still feigning calm. At last, Mion, who had been sitting there lazily, readjusted her cushion and sat herself upright. At that moment, the atmosphere in the room changed completely. Mion's expression also changed. The impatience and wonderment in her expression disappeared, and she became so solemn that you would think she was about to conduct a tea ceremony. I could sense it. It was now, in this moment. Mion had ceased to be Mion, but changed into Mion Sonozaki, the current heir to the Sonozaki house. That solemn atmosphere about her was clearly abnormal, and was entirely different from that of the Mion I knew. Now I could believe it. Now I could believe that she was the young leader who commanded the entire Sonozaki clan. Mion quietly placed both her hands on the tatami mat and gave a beautifully elegant bow, as if this really were a tea ceremony, and named herself.
初めてご挨拶申し上げます。園崎本家当主跡継ぎ、ミオンでございます。
Mion's movements were so elegant that they could cut, and we couldn't even answer her. All Ren and I could do was watch, baffled at her actions, which we could never imagine the normal her
本
doing.
日はようこそ園崎本家においでくださいました。当主お領に代わりまして、皆様におかれましてはいろいろお尋ねになりたいことがおありの様子。私にお話しできることでしたら包み隠さずお話ししたいと存じます。
What? What did Mion just say? Mion said she would answer anything we asked. There was a strong light of resolve in her
本
eyes.
当に何を尋ねてもいいんだな。
知る限りをお話しいたしましょう。皆様もそれを望んでここにいらしたのでしょうから。
Ren and I exchanged glances. There was a mountain of things we wanted to ask Mion. However, we hesitated for a moment on what we should ask first. The first question Rena gave was extremely abstract, but it was the question everyone wanted to know right now.
どうしてこんなことを？
That was what I wanted to ask as well. Why would you do this? That didn't only go for Rika-chan and Satoko, went for the mayor, Takano-san, Tomitake-san as well. No, even further back, for all the incidents that have been occurring every year. For a little while, Mion couldn't respond. I wouldn't realize that question was too vague and tried to put it in more concrete terms. She finally opened her mouth to speak.
その問いに対する答えは少し長いものになります。それでもよろしければどうかご清聴いただきたく存じます。
She spoke clearly. She spoke with a clarity that her grandmother might use when telling a story from a long time ago.
木南沢村がかつて鬼ヶ淵村と呼ばれていたことをご存知ですか？
Rena nodded lightly, then shot a glance at me asking if I did. I returned her nod. Hinamizawa was once called Onigafuchi Village, yes. I heard about it all that night from Takano-san in the ritual storehouse. They firmly believed that demon blood ran through their veins and cut off all contact with the outside world. They were worshipped by those in the village at the foot of the mountains, treated like transcendents, those capable of magic.
そうです。鬼ヶ淵村のご先祖様たちは、鬼の血を引く誇り高き仙人たちでした。ふもとの村々の人たちは、崇め、そして敬いました。ですが、そういう空気も、徳川の世が終わるとともに廃れていきました。
It always comes back to the damn Tokugawas. The black ships arrived. The era of the samurai ended. The era of national isolation ended. And the tradition of worshipping Onigafuchi village quickly disappeared. Can't believe the Dutch did all this. Those things that linger from the past were all to be detested. That was the kind of era it became.
明治になり、古い歴史を持つ鬼ヶ淵村の名称は一方的に日南沢村に改められてしまいました。古い因習を一掃しようとする明治政府の思惑が強く働いたのだと聞かされています。
The abolition of feudal domains and the establishment of prefectures. An era had begun, seeing Japan sprinting up the stairs that were beyond their means to try and reach the same level as the rest of the world. All things in the Western style were to be extolled, while all traditional things were to be scorned. That was the sort of era it was.
そういう時代の激変の中で、滝壺に落ちていく花びらのように、あっという間に鬼ヶ淵村は消えてしまったのです。
At last, Japan, provoked by the great European powers colonizing in Asia one by one, began a policy to increase its wealth and military power so it could stand as a global power in its own right. Conscription began, and they won war after war. The first Sino-Japanese War, and then the Russo-Japanese War, and until the Pacific War broke out, they recklessly climbed the staircase towards modernization.
この頃には、もう鬼ヶ淵村の不可侵性は失われていました。
Didn't think we'd get into the Meiji era and wars and stuff, but here we are.
かつて仙人と崇められた村人たちは否認扱いを受け、神聖な鬼ヶ淵村はいつの間にか合病患者の隔離集落の慣れの果てであるという根も葉もないレッテルを貼られ、苦難の時代を迎えることになったの
Way
で
too
した。
fast. Thus began harsh days where one would suffer unreasonable discrimination just because people knew one was from Onigafuchi. The children in the village at the foot of the mountain were told not to go near Hinamizawa because filthy germs were rampant there. Children who had come into contact with children in Hinamizawa would cry and wail as the parents purified the spot they were touched by rubbing salt on it. One of the adults said to the children that if you got lost in Hinamizawa, you would be kidnapped by demons, cut into pieces, and devoured. Never, ever go near the terrifying village of the man-eating demons. Damn, that sounds like a crazy thing. Anyways, what was with all the torture stuff we found? That's what he taught them. Another said that during a famine a long time ago, the people of Hinamizawa gathered up the corpses they discarded into the dry riverbeds, then cooked and ate them in order to survive. Groundless stories, but said in such seriousness. Baseless slander added to baseless slander, making Onigafuchi's village's historically accurate, thrilling history all the more believable. Perhaps the chain of undue discrimination was a manifestation of the people's anxiety towards the uncertain times. Of course, the story didn't only end with the perspective of the children. If anyone found you were from Onigafuchi, you'd be wow, okay, what? You'd be turned down from any job you applied for. Well, that sucks. People would go back on engagements and even marriage proposals. Okay, this sucks. As for the marriages where one partner had lied about it, as soon as the truth got out, they were made to divorce.
裁判も起こしました。出身の問題は離婚する重要な理由にはなり得ないと訴えて、でも敗訴しました。
Wow.
出身の虚偽は結婚の上での重大な詐称行為にあたるのだそうで。
ひどいね。
Yeah, that's actually rough.
そんなの。
It's actually like super rough. I've heard about such discrimination cases in small villages in civics class. Just because others knew you were from a tiny hamlet, you'd be subjected to every societal disadvantage there was. A modern form of bullying. This is like in Pokemon when they're like, oh, Ash Ketchum, you're from the boonies, you're from the sticks, which is like, what the frick? I didn't know that was such a real thing. Though I only memorized that because it was going to be a test one time. I recall being suspicious about it, being unable to believe such discrimination occurred in modern-day Japan.
まあ、自業自得と言えないこともないのかもしれません。私たちのご先祖様は、自分たちに鬼の血が流れていることを誇りに思い、自慢し、麓の人々を蔑んで暮らしてきたのですからね。その神秘性で、麓の村人たちを怖がらせ、畏怖と貢ぎ物の献上を要求してきたのですから。
With that, Mion smiled for the first time, albeit in self-mockery.
太平洋戦争中は国民一丸のスローガンが流れながらも数え出したらキリがないくらい夫や息子を戦場に送り出し15の女たちも心がすさんでいたのでしょうね。当時をよく覚えている祖母はそれは苦しい時代だったと回想しています。
Even that bitterly long war, however, finally ended in 1945.
多数の男手を失ったひなみ沢にも、ようやく父や夫、息子たちが戻ってまいりました。もちろん、帰らぬ者も多かった。それでも、男手がなく村を維持することにすら限界をきたしていたひなみ沢にとって、それはとても喜ばしいことでした。
What the frick? MacArthur's GHQ? Said to work. What the frick is that? Said to work on drastically improving mindsets. That sounds like a something I should know. I'm looking this thing up. Cause like what the frick is MacArthur? What I don't know. I'm freaking out my body. Okay, let me move my phone away from my thing. Oh, it's happening again. Okay, so oh god. Okay, so MacArthur's GHQ. What is that? MacArthur GHQ refers to the general headquarters established by General Douglas MacArthur, particularly the one in Tokyo during the American occupation of Japan, where he directed the post-war... Okay, it's post-war reforms. Okay. Right? Yeah, I've never heard of this. It served as the command for the Allied forces. Reforms democratized the country, promoting religious freedom by removing ultranationalism and militarisms from Shinto. Led the efforts to persecute war criminals, pivotal in the post-war restructuring of Japan, a period that profoundly okay. Yeah, this is I've never heard. I mean, I've probably heard of this, but I mean only in so much as like secondhand. I've never studied this, I'll say. And it strove for the abolition of unfair discrimination. They could feel day breaking on the dismal night that was in the previous era.
もう一度立て直そう。そういう機運が高まり、村人たちは村を少しでも豊かにするために働き始めました。
During that time, someone appeared who built a fortune through a vast number of dealings in the black market. That was Mion's grandfather, the husband of the elderly current leader, Sohei Sonozaki.
宗平は中国大陸に出兵し、ハルピンで食料倉庫の管理をしていたといい、撤退時に上官や仲間たちと共謀して軍の缶詰をごっそりと盗み出していたのでした。
Harbin's not far from me. I should go. I should visit.
それを瀬戸内海某所に隠し、闇市で高値で売りさばいて大きな富を得たのです。
Sohei didn't spend that fortune for his own pleasure either. He entrusted the entire amount to his wife, the head of the Sonozaki house.
廃れたひなみ沢を復興させよう。村人すべては家族であり、この富は共有の財産である。現当主である祖母はそう宣言しました。この大きな富は、その後のひなみ沢の復興の大きな力となったのです。
I see. With that, Hinamizawa came back to life, and that's how the Sonozaki family had established its current
も
prosperity.
ちろん、闇市で財を成したことを妬む人たちも大勢いましたが、 もう村人は気にしなかった。
They succeeded at one business venture after another. Those who had succeeded freely supported those who followed them. The giant family of Hinamizawa, tied together with strong bonds, kept on expanding its influence. The Sonozaki family, center of everything, would be extolled for a long time as the minds behind Hinamizawa's revitalization.
その活躍の中心人物がみーちゃんのおばあちゃんなんだね。すごいよね。大活躍。
Mion looked like she was honestly happy Rena had praised her.
ですが昭和30年頃に
Uh-oh.
またしても逆風が吹き始めます。それが人肉缶詰疑惑でした。
Okay, right. Because I asked, hey, is this a real thing? Should I Google this? And everyone's like, no, don't worry. It's a Higurashi thing, so I didn't. Canned flesh. It sounded so hideous. Just hearing it made me
祖
nauseous.
父園崎宗平の上官だったと名乗る男が告白したのです。
Oh.
あの缶詰は人肉の缶詰だった。
Oh, so just someone was like, I'm the boss of this guy, and we've been using human flesh. What the frick? Hinamizawa, a village in which demons lived and ate humans. They were just about to wipe away that cursed stigma. The light they had finally started to see in their peaceful lives grew hazy and disappeared. The shocking truth, oh, wait. Whoops. No, I want to see the log. Because what you said is naming himself. I took that as it's a lie. But are we meant to say that it actually is? By his former superior, the stolen provisions from the old Japanese army that had been a huge cornerstone for Hinamizawa's revival had been canned human flesh. Why were there cans like that? Wasn't Sohei just the manager of food warehouses? His superior revealed that, oh no, Sohei Sonozaki did not have the job of managing the food.
実は宗平は戦時中、ハルピンでペストネズミの駆除や
Oh!
伝染病患者の死体運搬の仕事をさせられていたのでした。
Uh-oh! It had been unfair treatment, all because of the lowliest of his origins. As a result, though he had returned safely without having been sent to the front lines or being detained, perhaps that was the only fortunate thing to happen to him. Finally, Sohei was enlisted as an assistant at a military medical institution. There, however, he found something even worse than the low, scorned, depressing customs of Onigafuchi village. Oh no, in the research they were carrying out. Are we talking about Japan's war crimes? Are we actually going here? Oh, this isn't voiced. Oh, that's interesting. Could that have been, well, you know. Oh my god, this is not in some versions. The bacteriological core in the old Japanese army or whatever. Keiichi-kun, you've heard of that? What could it be? I was pretty sure it was Unit 731. It was a nightmare unit that devoted it. Oh my god, we're bringing it up. And the fact that it's not voiced, meaning it's not in some versions, that says a lot. It was a nightmare unit that devoted itself to researching terrifying bacteriological weapons to break the deadlock in the war. They used many innocent people as fodder for horrible human experiments. They methodically observed how many days a new strain would take to kill the victims. God, Silent Hill F is gonna be woke as hell, huh? How many days it would be when injected. How many days? That's a joke, by the way. I need to say that's a joke. I'm making a joke, right? I feel like if you can't grasp where I stand on this, then you don't watch my videos enough. I'm just gonna say, okay? Okay, that's a joke. Calm down. Anyways, how many days it would be when swallowed. They dissected many people to find that out. Sometimes they wouldn't oh my god! They wouldn't bother waiting until they were dead and dissected them when they were still alive. They would strap them in centrifuges while still alive. Oh my god! Crush them in decompression chambers while still alive. Oh my god! This is pretty grim. When a live... I understand why this was removed now. When a live human decompresses, all the holes in their body get pushed outwards. Their intestines get pushed out of their anus like a snake winding out. Oh my god. I have a oh wow, okay, I have a feeling I saw something like that on a documentary one time.
胸くそが悪くなるぜ。
Yeah, you could say that twice, buddy.
それでもひなみ沢の人間を蔑む
What
のか
the
よ。
frick?
本当に。
Mion agreed with me, giving a faint, sad smile. It wasn't much in the way of communication, but for some reason, I was happy to have it right now.
僧兵がいた部隊はそれよりはもっと温情的な研究をしていました。
Yeah, there was no, anus
そ
snakes.
れは戦地での困難な食料調達に関する具体的な手法の研究
Okay,
で
that
した。
sounds remarkably kinder. The military's designs at the start of war completely fell apart, and a chronic food shortage broke out all over the battlefront. The food shortage led to malnutrition, and as their natural resistances lowered, the soldiers fell to one disease after another. Spirit and morale lowered as well. They wouldn't be able to maintain their forces at this rate. Apparently, that's where the research started. At first, it was to find methods of delivering foods to battlefields. It was very broad and included things from violent methods like stealing it from citizens to survival methods like how to cook unfamiliar insects and plant life. As they were working out the details, they kept straying off course and going out of control until they finally knocked down a door called Taboo.
戦場で一番入手しやすいタンパク
Oh my
源
god.
は何だと思います？
Rena and I knew the answer without being told. So we didn't answer.
彼らは人間を食材として扱う方法を研究していたのです。彼らは時には敵の、時には戦友の血肉をハンデでも戦い抜くことが
That's
国に報
crazy.
いる究極の方針になる。そういう競技を大真面目に組み上げていったのです。滑稽な話ですね。祖父を人肉食いと蔑んでおきながら、自分たちはさらにその上を言っていたのですから。
Yeah, they're like, oh, this guy's from the place where they said to eat human flesh. Anyways, we use it in the army.
祖父はいつも思っていたそうです。たとえ自分が卑しい食人鬼だとしても、彼らはそれよりもはるかに醜い鬼なんだと。だからいくら蔑まれたってちっとも答えないと。
At last, they had a handful of test prototypes. When the soldiers learned it was human flesh, however, the scientists couldn't make anyone eat it. So it was apparently sent to the front lines. The cans were labeled meat. Oh my god! They labeled it meat substitute? What do you think is in your Beyond Burger, I guess? And so they wouldn't accidentally eat it themselves. They were stamped the bottoms with a
お
circle.
腹を空かせた前線の兵隊さんに
Oh
は
my god.
どの試作品もとても好
Oh
評だ
my
ったそう
god.
です。中でも醤油で煮たすき焼き風のものが
Oh my
一番
god.
好評だったそうで。
Oh no.
もうやめてよみーちゃん。気分が悪くなってきた。
Yeah, this is a lot. Rena really was pale-faced, and she looked like she was having difficulty continuing to sit on her knees. That is hard. If you've never sat on knee style, it actually sucks. Mion looked like she had more to say, but she sighed lightly and stopped
じ
there.
ゃあそのミオンのじいさんが持ち帰ったという缶詰は
真偽はわかりません。晩年まで僧兵は人肉であることを否定し続けました。ですが、ひなみ沢の急激な復興を妬む人々は、人肉を売って財を成した鬼畜と呼び、また子供たちが林立てられ、石を投げつけられる時代に戻ってしまったのです。
Stifling silence came back. What a seriously hopeless and sad story it was. They discriminated, were discriminated against, discriminated, were discriminated against. Why must they attach worth and rank to it? Why can't they live without looking down on people? Why can't everyone enjoy life together? I didn't know.
当主である祖母はある時村の子供たちにこう言いました。
If they throw a stone at one of you, Then 2 of you must throw stones back. The children asked her, what if they threw stones at 2 of us? Of course, the answer was
2人
simple.
に石を投げられたら4人で石を、8人に棒で覆われたら16人で追い返し、30人に中傷されたなら60人で怒鳴り返せと。
Finally, the children asked, what if we're attacked by 1,000 people? Even that answer was simple.
1000人に襲われたならひなみ沢の全員で立ち向かいなさいと。それは決起を促す劇のようですらありました。祖母は園崎本家当主としてだけでなく、ひなみ沢の母太郎として立ち上がったのです。
You know, this also makes sense why the government would be totally fine with just flushing out Hinamizawa. Like, they'd be like, freaking, yeah, get rid of this place. It was halfway through 1955. It was a time when riots over the treaty with the US were rampant, a time of battle and action. The people of Hinamizawa joined together and fought, treating unfair discrimination towards one as a crime against them all. It didn't matter whether that one was a child or an adult. If they heard a child had been told off, then everyone would crowd their house to the perpetrator acting as a whole. If they heard an adult had been treated unfairly, men and women, young and old, would all band together and stand up against it. If you meddle with people from Hinamizawa, you'd be in trouble. They probably figured that if they could make others think that, they'd win.
ケイちゃんも町で不良に絡まれた時、たくさんの人たちに助けられたのを思い出しませんか？
I recalled how much of an impression it left on me. That the people of Hinamizawa boldly came to my rescue, yet the people of Okonomiya averted their eyes so they wouldn't get involved.
祖母が戦い、両親がそれを引き継ぎ、ようやくひなみ沢にも平和が戻った。もっともその平和もとても薄い川の上に乗ったものです。この100年の歴史を見れば、今の平穏など揺れ返す天秤のたまたまの狭間としか言えないでしょう。
どうして？
Could I really have an opinion on such a long and difficult history when I hadn't moved here more than a year ago? Yet I said it anyway.
どうしてみんなで仲良く暮らし合えないんだよ。高野さんに聞いたお社様の昔話はどうなったんだよ。
Man and demon joined hands and lived together in harmony. Didn't know Yashiro-sama remain in this world to watch over that?
おとぎ話です。人と鬼は実在しても、それを調停するお社様は実在しなかった。
それでお社様のたたりを起こすことになったの。
A cool gust of wind blows in from outside, fluttering Mion's long, beautifully clear hair. Mion kept a refreshing smile, without answering. Didn't even change her expression, but even that became a silent answer.
ひなみ沢村を再び鬼ヶ淵村のように崇められるに足る神聖な存在に。それが我ら鬼ヶ淵村の末裔の悲願であり、園崎本家の鬼を継ぐ者の宿命なのです。
鬼を継ぐ者？
Oh my god, are we gonna see your crazy tattoo?
我が園崎本家は代々当主の名に鬼の一字を加える習慣があるのです。私の名前を手のひらにでも書いていただければ一目瞭然かと。
Trace out the word Mion on the palm of my hand. Oh, she's right. The character for demon is in there.
名前だけではありませんよ。
And okay, actually the crazy thing is that also works in English. Mion. ONI. It's right there. It's rearranged, but it's there. That's crazy.
この体にも
Yeah,
鬼が
okay.
刻まれてい
Okay,
るの
wait,
です。
can we see it though? When she said that, she quietly rose and began to lay her hand on her clothing.
いいよみーちゃん。
No, I want to see it.
見せる必要なんて
No, I want to.
全然ない。
ありがとう。
Oh. With that exchange, I guessed what she meant. I wanted to see it. Most likely, somewhere on her body, there was a permanent seal such as... Oh, what if it's not a tattoo? What if it's like a branding? That might be different. That proved that she inherited the demon. So that makes me wonder, is that actually like a physical difference then between Mion and Shion? I wonder if that's going to come into play. Ever. Mion didn't sit back down. She She smoothly opened the paper door onto the porch. A refreshing breeze began to cleanse the damp air filling the room. Mion quietly gazed out the front yard for quite a while. On her shoulders was something I could never imagine the normal Mion carrying. It was the heavy, truly heavy history of Hinamizawa. No, of Onigafuchi, weighing down on them. What kind of words could I possibly say to a Mion like that? Rena wasn't saying anything to her either. Only the voices of the cicadas drowned out the silence. At last, after a long period of nothing, Mion murmured,
この5年間の連続事件ね。
Uh-huh.
私が直接関わったものもあるし、
Okay.
間接的に関わったものもある。いくつかは園崎家だけでなく、他の御三家の君吉家や古出家が関わっているものもあるけど、そのすべての中心に私がいたと思う。
She said it all without turning around, with her back, probably with the demon on it, towards us. At some point, her tone of voice had gone back to being the Mion we knew.
私は自分のしたことには信念を持ってるし、あるとすれば、私の後継ぎも決まらないうちに舞台を退かねばならないことくらいかな。私を捕まえて、それで法治国家の体裁が整うなら、それも時代の流れかなって。この100年で一番平和なひなみ沢を見ながら引退できるのは、ひょっとすると歴代の園崎家の当主で一番の幸せなのかもしれないし。
Mion leaned a shoulder against the paper door, and slid down it and flopped to the ground. It was an act of such resignation that just seeing it made me hurt inside. The numerous terrible crimes Mion had been a part of suddenly began to fade from my mind. Hey, Mion, I don't care what happens after this. Can't you just struggle as much as you can to try to run away? As soon as I began to think that, Rena's ringing voice filled the room.
でもみーちゃんはリカちゃんとサトコちゃんを殺したんだよね。
Oh, they stopped. Well, for a second. The sharp points of her words stabbed into my chest despite not being directed at me.
他の人のことは殺してもいいとも言わないよ。でもとにかくみーちゃんはリカちゃんとサトコちゃんを殺した。
Rena's words were more biting than any I'd ever heard. Even now that we knew all the heavy history pressing down on Mion's shoulders, she had criticized her for killing our friends.
私が園崎家の役目を負うように、リカちゃんだって古出家の役目を負っていた。その役目が西宮殿を守ることだった。
Oh, that's why. My chest
去
tightened.
年あたりからリカちゃんが言ってたのは知ってたんだよ。西宮殿の勘抜きが重くて辛い。もっと簡単な鍵に付け替えたい。
So it literally is just they were killed because they let it happen.
先代の神主さんでも重いと嘆いてた代物だからね。リカちゃんに辛いのは重々承知だった。
僕がちゃんと番をしますですから、もっと軽い鍵に変えてほしいなのです。
I replied on behalf of the Sonozaki family leader. Ever since the string of freak death incidents, there seemed to be people who are insolent towards Oyashiro-sama, so you shouldn't replace the lock with a simpler one. That said, the leader of the Kimiyoshi family, Old Man Kimiyoshi, That's too difficult for you, Rika-chan, then I think it's okay to replace the lock, he said. The very fact that it was locked with a key was an indication of it being somewhere you mustn't enter. There's nobody bad enough to break through it and go inside, he said. Even if we are alike as leaders, I couldn't find it in me to argue with Old Man Kimiyoshi since I owed him so much. In the end, we decided to change out the lock on the storehouse and switched it out to a really cheap and light
おじ
padlock.
いちゃん、本当に大丈夫なんですか？バッチャもできることなら鍵は前のままの方が良かったと言ってます。
大丈夫だよ。心配性だな。何かあったらおじいちゃんがちゃんと責任を取ってあげるから。
本当ですね。君吉家の当主として
Oh my
責任を
god.
取られるという意味ですね。おじいちゃんもこ
Oh
の中
my
に収め
god,
られて
you'll
いる
take
ものがどれだけ
responsibility?
神聖なものかよくご存知のはず。
大 丈夫なのですよ。このひなみ沢に鍵を開けて勝手に入ってしまう悪い猫さんはいませんなのです。にゃーにゃ
ー。Sobs escaped from my mouth. Something hot and wet dripped down in spades and fell onto the tatami mat.
西宮殿に賊が忍び込んだという話は渡長市の祭りの最中にもう私の耳に入っていました。賊は4人。その日のうちに手が下されることになりました。同時に西宮殿に賊を許した古出家のリカちゃんと君吉家のおじいちゃんも責任を問わなければならなくなってしまった。
So the question becomes, why are we still alive? My tears dripped and dropped, until just now, I decided that it was Mion's fault that she killed Rika-chan and the others. That was wrong. The one who killed them wasn't Mion, it was me.
俺が殺したも当然なんだ。
圭一君。
I had a chance to stop this tragedy from happening, and yet I didn't. Cheap curiosity got the better of me, and I didn't. If at the same time I had stopped us from sneaking into the ritual storehouse, Rika-chan and the others wouldn't have had to die. If I had, then nothing would have happened. We would be spending our days having lots of fun like we always did.
俺がバカだった。
If by shedding tears I could take it all back, then I would have filled up the room with them. However, such a meager act wouldn't be enough to redeem myself for the crime I've committed.
ケイちゃんは何も悪くないよ。
Mion gently began to speak to me, as if trying to reason with me.
私は園崎家の当主として手を下さなければならなかったけど、園崎家の歴史なんか今にして思えば大したものじゃない。そんなもの全部投げ出しても私は仲間を救うべきだったのかもしれない。私がそんなものに屈したからあの二人を殺してしまった。それは他でもない、私園崎美音が殺したということ。私には踏みとどまる100億の瞬間があった。でも踏みとどまらなかった。安易に自らの役割に屈し仲間のために戦うことを放棄してしまった。だからこれは私の罪。私が殺した園崎美音がこの手で殺してしまった。それは何ら変わらない。何も
Her masochistic laughter was sad, especially because Mion boasted in club that she would turn the tables on whatever predicaments presented themselves. It was so painful.
でもみーちゃんは自分の意志で
That's why,
一人だけ救ったんだね。
え
as I looked at her surprised, Rena stuck her finger right at my forehead.
圭一君だけを殺さなかった。こんなにも強い力を持つみーちゃんなら造作もなかったろうに。でも殺さなかったんだよね。
That's right. Mion was so cunning that nobody could stand up to her, even in our club. If she had seriously tried to kill me, I would have been dealt with on the very first night. So many people had been sacrificed, but I was always left out in the cold. When did I first realize it? Even though people were disappearing one after another, for some reason I had this vague belief that only I would be left alive.
さてどうして殺さなかったのかね。鬼の私には見当もつかないわ。ミオンの方に殺したくない都合でもあったんじゃないの。
そりゃどういう意味だよ。
Shh. Mion put a finger to her lips to say that Rena didn't need to talk.
大石は外で待ってんの？
うん。
逃げ場は？
ない。ぐるっと囲んでるって言ってた。無線でたくさんの車が来てるみたいだったよ。みーちゃん家の広い敷地を全部囲んでると思う。
Mion fell silent. Rena's merciless words felt cruel, but they weren't meant to be. Maybe they were trying to lessen her good friend's pain, if only by little. Maybe they were considerate, like she was trying to help.
自首しよう。
Mion didn't open her mouth, but she just smiled, just a little.
私たちも一緒に行くよ。親友を一人きりになんか絶対に。
泣くことレナには勝てないわ。
She rose, scratching her head. Her face had returned entirely to that of the usual Mion.
自分で自分の罪、どのくらいになるかよくわかってる。たとえ自首が認められても、多分もうここに帰ってくることもないと思う。
I couldn't say anything. The number of deaths Mion was involved in was just too large. So much so that maybe recommending that she turn herself in was, in a way, extremely cruel.
だから、最後にわがままを聞いてほしいな。
何かな。
30分でいいから、ケイちゃんと二人きりにしてほしい。
Huh? My name suddenly came up, and it looked like I was the only one surprised at that.
ケイチくん、どうかな。ケイチくんが嫌なら無理にとは言えない。
そうだね。嫌ならそれでもいいよ。私は鬼だもの。ケイちゃんはよそから引っ越してきた正真正銘の人間。相入れることなんてお社様が実在して仲介してくれない限り絶対にない。
There was no reason for me to hesitate. Mion had been engulfed by heavy, unopposable tradition. The one who had forced her to kill her friends with her own hands. That was me, and me alone. In fact, with me cornered, it would be okay for her to blame me. However, Mion didn't say one word of blame. Far from it. I was guilty of the same crime, and she let me go. Amidst the fate she could not oppose, she saved me alone. I didn't know whether I should be thankful for that. Thinking upon it now, I didn't know how much easier it would be if I were to be granted the same punishment as Rika-chan and the others. The only thing I knew for sure was that I had an equal duty to bear the sins that Mion shouldered. So when it came to Mion's last request, well, there was no reason for me to hesitate.
あ、いいぜ。
ありがとう。
私からもありがとうを言うよ、ケイチくん。
Rena stood up. It looked like she would keep her promise with Mion and leave.
あ、いいよレナ。ここで待っててくれれば。ケイちゃんとは庭をぐるりと回りたいだけだから。退屈だったら私の部屋へ行けばいい。漫画とか好きに読んでていいよ。あ、なんだったらお気に入りの単行
Oh
本
my
丸ごと
God.
持ってってもいい。
嫌だよ。みーちゃんの本はみーちゃんのものだもの。勝手にレナの家に持って帰れない。
あんたはこんな時に限っていい子なんだから。
Mion took Rena's head and rubbed it violently like she always
じ
did.
ゃあ行こう、ケイちゃん。
I began to walk after Mion, who headed for the hallway when Rena silently stopped me.
みーちゃんもよろしくね。
あ、
みーちゃん、もう二度と帰ってこれないって確信してる。
Oh, sorry, this is not dialogue. I didn't know much about laws, but with as many deaths as she'd been involved in, the chance of her escaping a heavy punishment seemed non-existent.
みーちゃんが短気を起こさないように見張ってね。
Can you imagine if she uses her gun? The one that she's supposed to have in her sprite? Mion might not surrender herself to justice, but instead choose to put an end to things herself. Rena had already thought that far ahead.
そんなこと絶対にさせないから。
Rena rubbed at her tears, which had fallen without me noticing them.
じゃあ行ってあげて。
I nodded and followed Mion, who had disappeared out the front door. I could clearly hear Rena sobbing from the other side of the paper
ど
door.
うしてみーちゃんは鬼なんか継がされちゃったんだろうね。それは仕方のないことだったんだろうね。 でも、あんまりにもかわいそうだよね。
Something hot burned down my cheeks. They were my tears. I fiercely wiped them away. This was the last time I could offer to Mion. This was the last of my time I could offer to Mion, so I absolutely didn't want to let her see my tears during it. Mion was already waiting outside the front door. Oh boy. Ooh. Let's continue on.